What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Fiery Fridays. We are finally back with the podcast. It's been a while. Bailey, how you been?
Yeah, pretty good. Excited about the past couple of days with the NBA. It's been really busy, I guess. The Heat today, great game, great
Yep.
way to end the series. So I suppose that's the highlight so far, but plenty more to come.
This isn't one of the questions that we have jotted down, but do you think the Heat beating the Bucks is one of the biggest upsets you've seen in a playoff series?
For a while,
Yeah,
mm, when you look at it, who like when they went in head to head, I mean, you could always make a case maybe Heat in seven, but a 4-1 loss Oladipo, loss Hero.
yeah,
That's huge. That
yeah.
is a big upset. Yeah, I'd probably say it's definitely top three.
hmm Yeah, I agree. Definitely an eighth seed. They lost to the Hawks in the play-in, and then they went up against the Bulls, who they only just beat. So technically, they weren't really meant to be there. I mean, they did finish eighth, but the Bulls nearly took them down and could have potentially knocked them out altogether before they even went on that run. And then taking out the first seed 4-1, Jimmy Butler is playing the best basketball in the playoffs at the moment. So exciting games at the moment. Knicks just beat the Cavs, which we'll get into a little bit later. So yeah, first question. The NBA Finals predictions up to this point. Obviously, it would have been better to do it before the playoffs. But as to what we've seen so far, who do you think is going to make the NBA Finals in each conference? Who do you think is going to win? And then who is your Finals MVP? Let's hear it.
Um, so I think there's only two teams that can make it out the East. It's Boston or Atlanta, and Boston have the advantage. I think they play tomorrow.
Yeah, game
Yeah,
6. So by the
yeah,
time
yeah,
most people are watching this, either Boston advance or Trae Young has forced a game 7. We do not know that as of yet.
yeah, yeah. I think like I'm still siding with the Celtics. I think because they'll even if they do get the job done tomorrow at Atlanta, which I think's unlikely, but they definitely can do it. Game 7 at home, I think Boston would get the job done. I just think Atlanta have a lot of firepower to get past Boston, where Boston's just a really good team, and obviously they have stars as well. So I think one of them makes it out the East no matter what. I don't see the Knicks or the Heat doing really anything major, and I think Boston or Atlanta will beat Philly very comfortably. Um, and then, yeah, I think it's going to be a Suns Nuggets Western Conference final. Oh no, they verse each other
Yeah,
next.
yeah. It'll be
Yeah,
Suns, Nuggets, Lakers,
yeah. So
Warriors.
I think Suns will get out. That's my opinion. I reckon they're going all the way. So they're definitely making out of the West to me. Golden State Lakers is interesting. I'd probably side with Golden State just at the moment. I think they're playing a little bit more consistently, maybe. So I've still got Suns coming out of the West against, a good series against Nuggets, but I think they'll do it pretty, what's the word? Not comfortably, but firmly. Like they'll get the job done. Like pretty cruisy through it. And then you've got, yeah, Celtics or Atlanta. I'll go with Celtics. I've got a Suns Celtics final, and I've got the Suns coming out on top with Kevin Durant holding up the Finals MVP.
I don't think Philly fans are going to be happy with that answer. Is there a reason why you would pick Atlanta to comfortably beat Philadelphia? We've got one mate who's a diehard Philly fan. I know he might tune in, so
Yeah.
I know we'd like to hear your explanation.
Um, I don't know. I feel like, and I've had this opinion for a while when it comes to the playoffs. Embiid just isn't as effective against really good teams. Like we saw him last year against Atlanta, really struggle when it came playoff time. Now he's probably playing better basketball this year, but I just think when you have a center who has to sit and play defense in the playoffs, where you're not getting these easy fouls and you've actually got to commit and play, it's a lot harder. Like for example, Giannis today, really good in the regular season, and then an inside scoring, not a big, but like a guy who dominates inside, struggles a lot more in the playoffs when the defense really is, locked in. I just feel like players like that, Embiid, Giannis, struggle a lot more in the postseason when the defense is higher and the stakes are higher. So that's why I don't think Philly's really got it. And I just don't. I think Atlanta have a lot of firepower, or Celtics, and Celtics do as well. I think Celtics will beat them more comfortably than Atlanta, but they've still got a lot of talent on their team. But yeah, one of them comes out of the East, and it could be over tomorrow, and Celtics come out pretty comfortably for me.
Yeah. My prediction, I think the Suns might run into a bit of trouble against the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets finished first in the West. I think Nikola Jokic and even Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray obviously had an injury throughout the season. This playoff series, he's been tremendous. He had a 40 bomb. I think he had another 35 to 37 bomb. He's been really good. I know he's coming up against the defensive Chris Paul next round. Devin Booker, I think, is averaging like 36 points in the Clippers series, which is insane. And obviously Kevin Durant, who is potentially the best player in the league and one of, if not the best scorer of all time. So I really like the Nuggets. I think they're a much better team than the PG-less and Kawhi-less Clippers. I know Kawhi played 1 or 2 games. But I think they're going to run into a bit of trouble. Maybe in the early games, maybe they come back and win the Phoenix Suns. But I think they're going to have a reality check going into that series, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Nuggets come away with it. If I'm a betting man, would I put my money on the Nuggets? I'm not too sure if I would go against Phoenix and the firepower. So I'm going to say Phoenix would come out of the West.
What, in 7?
Against the Nuggets? 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Depending if Jokic wants to turn up and Jamal Murray has his 40-point game. And depending how well Bruce Brown, Jeff Green, Michael Porter, and KCP can hold Devin Booker and Durant to the best of their abilities. But I would say Phoenix out of the West. I don't think Kings and Warriors really stand out to me. I thought Warriors in the very first 2 games, I know they were getting a feel of it, but they were very, very mediocre. This past game, they only won by 6. Kings had the chance to tie it. And before the game 3 flogging, game 5, Kings also had a chance to take it out as well, and they couldn't finish the game. So Warriors haven't been too great, in my opinion. Lakers, they've been pretty well. They've exceeded my expectations. D'Angelo Russell had a good game not so long ago. Austin Reeves has been playing out of his skin. Rui Hachimura has been turning up. Vanderbilt's playing a big role as well. Davis and LeBron have been on and off. They kind of coincide a little bit. Every time Davis plays well, LeBron doesn't. And every time LeBron's been playing well, Davis hasn't really been performing. So if they can string together those two performing well, I think they'll be really hard to stop. Can they beat Golden State? Possibly. But I don't see either of those teams even competing with Phoenix or Denver.
Yeah,
agreed. So, then again, LeBron and Davis took down Denver with pretty much the same teams. I know there's been a few changes with KCP and Bruce Brown, but I don't think that's that big of a deal. LeBron did 4-1 them, if I remember correctly, in the Western Conference Finals in the bubble.
Is it not? Keep going, sorry.
So I would take Phoenix to come out the West. What were you going to say?
Has Denver gotten better, though, and Lakers worse?
Throughout the season, I thought Denver got less deep with their roster, but they don't seem to be using some of the pieces off the bench that I thought they would. And same with Phoenix, to be honest. Phoenix have Terrence Ross as a third stringer who hasn't really got minutes this series. They've got TJ Warren, who can be a good scorer, who we've seen he can do stuff in the playoffs and potentially be a wing defender. They haven't really used.
Yeah.
And Australian biasy, but they got Jock Landau, who, when he's playing, actually puts up some good numbers. They've been using Bismack instead. Who else have Phoenix been using? They've been using Campaign, Damian Lee. So Denver as well, they got Reggie Jackson, who they traded for. Haven't really used him at all this playoffs. They got Thomas Bryant from the Lakers. Haven't really used him. Just a few pieces like that. Peyton Watson got some minutes at the end of the season. He really performed. So I'm not sure. It seems to be working. Obviously, they're into the second round in 5 games, 4 games, whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they go, see if they reach to the end of their bench and kind of use those pieces. Reggie Jackson's been great in the playoffs for the Clippers in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So would be good for them, I think. So we'll see. In the East, I think with Bucks being eliminated today, I have Boston without a doubt. I think they get it done tomorrow against the Hawks. I'm a big believer in Ice Trey. If you guys are frequent listeners of this podcast, I'm a big Trae Young fan. I think he's very underrated. And he's been performing. He had 38 points and 13 assists last game without DeJounte Murray in Boston and won. All odds stacked against him. So it goes back to Atlanta tomorrow. DeJounte's back from suspension. Do they force a game 7? Potentially, but once again, if I'm a betting man, I'm putting my house on Boston. They are the best team in the league, in my opinion, by a country mile. Derek White stepped it up this season, and the addition of Malcolm Brogdon was one of the best off-season pickups. Um, I'll get back to your Finals MVP. You didn't give it to me before,
I
but
did.
you did. Who'd you say?
So Kevin Durant will be holding up the trophy.
Okay. Um, I think Jason Tatum and the Celtics will beat Phoenix Suns in 6, and I think Tatum will get his first Finals MVP, and they'll keep the same roster and run it back next year, and it'll be very interesting to see. I think Tatum, they had a good chance of winning it last year. They blew that. I think it was Game 5. They were up quite a bit and they blew it. Then ended up going down 3-2. But I think Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics get it done. Jaylen Brown will get very close, and he actually might win Finals MVP. But I've got Tatum. He's currently averaging 27, 9, and 5 through 5 games against the Hawks. And I think as the teams get better, although Atlanta have quite a lot of firepower, as the teams get better, I think he'll step up.
Yeah.
On to question 2. Who has or / had, so has as in teams still in it, or had as in teams eliminated, the most to lose in the NBA playoffs, whether that be their status as their career or, effect on their legacy? Who has the most to lose?
I was going to give you one from each conference because I was tied between 2. So I think Suns is a big one. Nuggets is an honorable mention because they're just kind of running the same thing. But Suns, I think, bigger with the talent that they've got. You've got to do something big, bar injuries. Even with like say if, I don't know, say Devin Booker went down, like you'd still expect them to make a good push.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of pressure on Kevin Durant, Chris Paul especially. Like he's getting up there now. He's really getting older. He's starting to, I'd say, decline a bit. So he doesn't have much left. Like you'd want it. This is his chance. This is his big chance to get it done. So yeah, if they get knocked out by the Nuggets, like even though it's not a fail and they might run it back one more year, like with that amount of talent, you should be beating them. Like it shouldn't matter. And from the East, I think it's Philly. Just the way they keep running back, not the same roster. They always make little changes, but at the end of the day, is it enough to beat the Celtics? Is it enough to beat the Suns? And it's not for me. Like you've got Harden there. I don't know how many years are on his contract, but he's probably just past his prime now, but he's still, playing really well. You'd be wanting him to, be making at least the Eastern Conference Finals and going 6 or 7 games with the Celtics to even consider it next year. If you run into any trouble in the next few weeks before the Eastern Conference Finals, I'd say it's time to start again because they've been doing the same thing for a few years. They got eliminated by Atlanta last year. I can't remember who it was the year before, maybe Celtics, but they've just been getting like 4-2. It's not
they got eliminated by the Celtics last year, Atlanta the year before, and then in the bubble, I think it was Kawhi in the Eastern Conference Finals, right?
Nah,
that was 2019.
Yeah,
2020.
That was the last time they made the Eastern Conference
was
Finals.
Was 20 Miami because Miami went to the finals.
Yeah, and they beat. See, like that's 3 years in a row. The last time they were in the Eastern Conference Finals was with Jimmy Butler. Yeah. And, they lost to an unlucky shot. Since then, it's just been the same kind of thing since. I think there's a lot of pressure on them to actually do something this year. Well, yeah, it's back to the drawing board for me.
Yeah. I've gone with a player, not really a team. I'm going to go straight up Chris Paul. I think if Chris Paul doesn't get it done with the current roster he has, especially given what Booker's doing this series, and Kevin Durant's still in his prime, in my opinion. I think he's still doing what he could do 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
If Chris Paul can't get it done, I think it will leave a big dent in his legacy. He always gets the CP0 rings, the ringless, taunts and stuff like that. And if he can't win with Phoenix this year, especially if he loses in a Game 7 or even in 6 to Boston, or whoever he goes against, if he loses to Nuggets next round, or if he loses to LeBron and the Lakers, I think it's going to look really, really bad. And a lot of people consider him to be a top 5 point guard. And I think having no rings, especially being on what some people would call a super team, Monty Williams at the helm, I think it's gonna leave a little bit of a dent on Chris Paul. and I think it will affect people where they kind of rank him in one of the all-time point guards. If he goes ahead and wins a championship, you could argue that he's a top 3 point guard ever, top 5 point guard ever, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to go Chris Paul. I think he's got the heaviest weight on his shoulders. On to question number 3. The Heat took down the Bucks in 5 games today. Jimmy Butler is playing exceptional, but one of the biggest surprises for me, maybe even bigger, the Knicks took down the Cavs, the best defensive team in the league, in 5, with Randall playing pretty mediocre basketball. They haven't had Quentin Grimes, who may not be a big deal, but he is probably their best shooter, launches the most threes on their team, and he is a starter. So whether or not you think it's a big loss or not, he does start. And Randall went down today in Cleveland in the second quarter in a do-or-die game, and they still won by 15. So the Knicks, out of nowhere, New York is going crazy, and I think the Knicks-Miami series will be good. The Knicks have home advantage, so the first 2 games will be in New York, and then games 5 and 7 will be in New York if it goes the distance. So I want to hear your predictions on that series. How many games?
I think this has been underlooked this series because of how good today, like the Heat were against the Bucks today. If this was, say, 2 separate days, everyone would be talking a whole lot more about this. This was the biggest upset for me. I could have come in pretty confidently a few weeks ago and said like, oh, the Heat 4-1, the Heat 4-2. I mean, not the Heat, the Cavs 4-1, the Cavs 4-2. And not really thought about it. Like that would be a series I was pretty confident in, and the Knicks have just grown an extra arm and leg for every player. Like they're playing out of their skin. The question is, how far can they go?
So the question is, what's your prediction for the Knicks series?
Yeah. Well, they've shocked me so far, but so have the Heat. This could be a really good series, or probably better than, or more interesting than I'd say Celtics, Philly. It's probably a bit weaker though, like class wise. I'll go the Heat in 7. Okay. I reckon. I think it's going to be very evenly matched the whole time. Do we know if Hero's coming back, or is his hand fully gone?
He was ruled out of Series 1. There hasn't been any news about him returning against the Knicks, but
they won't rush him back.
Yeah, it's in 3 days. If he couldn't play, I mean, they only went to 5, so who knows? Yeah.
I'll say in 7 just because I'm a big believer in Jimmy Butler. Like he wants to win. And I don't know what it is about the Knicks. Like maybe they'll shock me again, but I think I've just got to lean that side just to have the will to win by Miami. Like they were down 18 at one stage today, probably like 14 in the 4th, and they've come back and just like to the death they were fighting. I just don't know if the Knicks have that in them. They kind of were just killing Cavs the whole time. I don't know what you do with the Cavs next year because that is really poor there considering the lineup they have. But yeah, give me Heat in 7.
Okay, I'm gonna say the Knicks in 7.
Yeah.
If I'm just looking at, if I don't regard the last series, so Heat Bucks, Knicks Cavs, and I'm just going off teams in regular season, I think the Knicks are a better team. Without Tyler Hero, I think they have a better depth chart than the Heat. With the home advantage, I think New York there's not going to be a single seat empty. It does play a part. If people don't think it plays a part, I think you're pretty silly. Randall did not perform at all. I don't think he liked the Mobley-Jared Allen matchup, and the Knicks still played very well. I know Randall will probably have Bam on him, but what Mitch Robinson did today with 17 boards and 14 points, I think he had 3 blocks as well. They're going to have to throw a body on him and box him out. And do Miami have another big body under the rim? I think it's Caleb Martin at the 4. They've got Brunson and Barrett, which I have to worry about, who absolutely killed it this series. But the Heat are pretty stacked. I mean, Gabe Vincent played very well today, especially. But in the series, he started the 1 and he played very well. Kyle Lowry coming off the bench, Kevin Love coming off the bench. They're using Duncan Robinson and Strus now, who can come on.
Is Kevin Love not starting? I think he might be starting.
I don't think so. No, he's coming off the bench. Randall only averaged 14, 6, and 3 against the Cavs, and they 4-1'd them. Yeah. Randall has gone down with an injury though, so if the injury reports come out that he won't play the first couple games, then I think the Miami have it in the bag
Yeah.
quite easily. But if Randall's back, I'm going to go Knicks in 7, and they're going to win at MSG, and they're going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals against Boston
And
or
lose.
Philly. And I think New York will be great for the NBA. Every game will be packed, and that's a big rivalry. And I think Tatum's going to knock them off pretty easily. So,
Yeah.
but I would love to see the Knicks make the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they'll break the internet. On to question 4. Can any team trailing at the moment come back and win, and why? So the teams trailing right now, as of this recording, are the Hawks. They're down 3-2 to the Boston Celtics. The Sacramento Kings are down 3-2 to the Golden State Warriors, and the Memphis Grizzlies are down 3-2 to the LA Lakers. So all game 6 is coming up. Can any of these teams force a game 7 and then win game 7, in your opinion? If not, who has the best chance?
I think the only chance to fully come back would be Atlanta. That's the only, I mentioned that at the start, so there's not too much to go on about that. But yeah, I think they're the only team that's got enough firepower. I don't see LeBron losing a 3-1 lead, and I don't see Steph Curry now being 3-2. I feel like Golden State get better the longer the series goes on to, being there before, being able to handle the pressure, where the Kings are probably a little bit panic mode right now. Had them, it was 1-1, then 2-2, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Had them on the ropes a little bit. I think after the first game, people were getting a bit worried, and then, Golden State stayed cool, calm, and collected and just get the job done. And I think next game, they'll probably do the same thing back in Golden State.
Sacramento. Oh, yeah, Golden State.
Yeah, back in Golden State. So I think they're a really good home team. Golden State should get the job done there. And then, yeah, Grizzlies, I think it was weird. Like, there was about 3 minutes left, and LeBron subbed out today. They're down 12. Like, I don't know if you just don't have a crack at, like, it's weird that they wouldn't have a crack at that. Like, 12 points, 3 minutes, plenty of possessions there. So I don't know if they're just like save him, rest him, and then next game just expect them to get the job done too. So Atlanta's the only one for me, but still very unlikely.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. None of them win. I think that all the teams up currently are going to win. I think Boston gets it done next game. I think Sacramento might force 7. It's going to be hard in Golden State, but I think they do have the chance. I think they've been pretty close, but I think Golden State are going to get it done now after the past 3 games. And then Grizzlies, it does go back to Memphis next game, which will be interesting after today's win. But LeBron did play terrible. I think he shot 1 from 9 from deep. I think he shot 3 for 16. I could be wrong. So he did play a pretty bad game. And they only did win by...
Wait, it's back in LA, isn't it?
No, Memphis is the 2nd seed. So it'll go... Oh, it is back in LA.
Yeah. Because they played in Memphis today.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a bonus as well to LA.
Yeah, back in LA. So I would say none. But if I had to pick, I would probably say Memphis, considering they are the 2nd seed. And I don't know. If I had to pick, I would probably say Memphis overcome the Lakers somehow. But I just don't see it coming out that LeBron blew a 3-1 lead in the first round. I just don't think it's a part of the script, as people would like to say. So I'm going to go none. But if I had to pick, I'd probably pick Memphis, considering out of the 3 teams in the regular season, they were the best.
Is it not like weird when you look at it? You've got you have the Heat at 8th.
Yeah.
You've got the Lakers at 7th. You've got Golden State at 6th.
Yeah.
Who was 8th in the West? They got pumped, Minnesota.
Yeah.
But you're looking at like majority of the worst regular season teams who, like have talent, just seem to turn it on in the playoffs, probably Knicks, what were they? They would have been 6th.
Knicks were 5th.
5th versus 6th, which was...
Yeah. 5th versus 4th. Cavs were 4th.
5th versus 4th, yeah. So you're looking at the bottom half of the teams, again, the job's done more than not, which I just think is strange. So I don't know how much it matters, but we've seen over the past few years, being first in the regular season does not mean much anymore.
Yeah.
See a lot of players resting up for these playoffs, and then just seems to be working pretty well.
Yeah. We'll get into question 5, which is your question of the week. Let's hear it.
My question was, it's kind of a 2-parter. Nuggets and Philly don't make it to the Eastern Western Conference Finals, which high possibility. What do you do with both of them next season?
I feel like Denver's had the same team for quite a while now, so I'd probably look to make a big free agent signing or trade maybe Michael Porter. I mean, he's played pretty well in the first round. He's got some trade value. You've got some pieces off the bench. I mean, Peyton Watson's young. You've got Reggie, who you're not using. I'm sure he'd be valuable on some team's bench. You've got Thomas Bryant, who was decent on the Lakers, who you're not using. So I'd look to make a trade and maybe get a more defensive wing. Aaron Gordon's been pretty solid. I'd probably keep him and just run it again, I guess. I think they have a pretty good chance in the West this year. I think they'll give Suns a good run. So we'll see how it goes. If they don't make it, I'd probably look to move Michael Porter and try and add some more depth to what they already have. Maybe it's time for Mike Malone to go at the helm. I'm not too sure, but Jokic, you can't move him. Jamal Murray is playing very well. I don't think you can move him.
No.
And they're both good enough to build a team around. So Jamal Murray's still like somewhat young as well. So yeah, it'd probably have to be Michael Porter. And then in Philly, I don't know, there's word Harden might go back to Houston. Do you blow it up and still build around Embiid? You've got Maxey, who's a young talent. Do you move him for someone valuable? Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think Philly have tried everything. They've got the defensive wings in. They've had Jimmy Butler in, who's a defensive superstar. They swapped him out. They got Simmons, who was a defensive wing playmaker, swapped him out. Now they've got Harden. They had Harden last year. So, yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what Philly do. Maybe it's time for Doc to go as well. Same thing. They've kind of had the same team for a while. So, yeah, I'm not too sure about that one. It would be pretty disappointing if Philly lose, and I do think they are going to lose. So,
Yeah.
I think Philly will give Boston a good shot. I do think that. I'm not going to say they have no chance. They played pretty well against Brooklyn, but I do think Brooklyn was the weakest team in the playoffs this series. So we'll see. My question of the week: who is this year's NBA after it's all said and done? Who is this year's NBA playoff breakout player? So in the bubble, it was Jamal Murray. Who is this year's, in your opinion?
Well, so far you'd be thinking Jimmy Butler. It's just whether he can, if he can get that team to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I don't know, even if he can get a game on Boston, that's impressive in my opinion. Because I can see
He
quite
doesn't play
easily.
Boston. He plays Knicks.
No, I'm saying
Oh,
after
if he
he
beats
makes it
Knicks.
through.
Yeah.
If he makes it through, and he can get a game on Boston, I think that's a good solid effort from him. Because I honestly think Philly would be lucky to get 2 games. I think it's a 4-1, pretty comfortably. Yeah, so if he could even get a game on Boston with a team, not that his team's bad, but when you match those two lineups up and you match the way they play, I think he's a huge, breakout player. I'm thinking, I'm thinking.
I thought you were going to go your boy De'Aaron Fox.
Well, he's playing well, but he's probably done soon. That's the problem. I think he can't lose in the first round and be a breakout player.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose when you look at if I think Golden State's going through and I think the Lakers are going through, there's no one on that team that would shock me. If they're playing well, there's no one who's that young and maybe makes a huge progression. And then you look at the Suns, Nuggets, same kind of thing. Not really going to see anything there. So, I move over to the East and it's probably the only player who's playing out of their skin right now that I think can go forward with that. So, yeah, it's a pretty boring one. No one that I could see really going under the radar just because I'm predicting, the better players and the better teams to keep moving forward. If I had the Kings going through, then, yeah, De'Aaron Fox playing out of his skin too.
Yeah. I think De'Aaron, it would be my pick whether he goes out or not. I think he's proved that he's worth the Supermax if he hasn't got it already. I don't think he has.
Yeah,
but what he's done this series against Steph Curry and the reigning champs, he's got 2 games. They were up 2-0 and he could potentially force a game 7 in 2 days. And if he does and they win in 7, yeah, definitely De'Aaron Fox. Didn't think he had it in him, but he's definitely proven me wrong. So yeah, that'll wrap up this week's episode. We'll be back next week. Make sure you go follow us on TikTok and Instagram. We're going to be posting heaps of snippets. Make sure if you see one of our snippets, drop a comment. I'll probably put a post up, and you guys can recommend questions for us. We might start a fan question of the week. And we appreciate you listening. And if you aren't subscribed to our YouTube, subscribe to that as well, because these will go up on that, the full episodes. We'll appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.
Sweet, cheers.